Okay, so I'm going to talk about the languages of the Iberian Peninsula diachronically, so from the early Middle Ages until the 21st century. And what I'm aiming to show is that maybe the picture that we have of what the languages of the Iberian Peninsula is doesn't correspond to reality, especially because we in Europe, we have this notion of one country, one language, and that's the first thing we will look at, okay? So France, French, Italy, Italian, German, and so on. After that, we will have a look at how they evolved diachronically from around 1,000 years ago until the current moment. And then I will challenge your notion of what a language is by asking ourselves if these languages I am claiming to exist are actually languages, or they are just accents as Geordie accent or dialects. After that, I will consider what their status is currently in Spain and what effect that has into language survival, really. And finally, I would like to consider what their future might be, because it's kind of very linked to politics and language policy, which doesn't always correspond to linguistics. So, does Spain equal Spanish? Does Spanish even exist? That's the notion most people have when they think of Spain. They think Spanish. But the truth is that when you go to Magaluf in the summer, or wherever you might go, Malaga, south of Spain, other languages exist there and coexist and interact with Spanish. So, here we have the current picture. At the moment, we have Castilian in the center. Castilian is the variety, the Romance variety, that everyone thinks of as Spanish. Spanish doesn't exist as such a thing in linguistically speaking. It's a construct. Beyond that, we have Basque, which you might have heard of because they used to blow up things. Then we have Catalan, quite an extensive area. You might have heard of it, I don't know, Salvador Dali, FC Barcelona, Gaudi. We have Galician there, which is kind of a variety of Portuguese nowadays. By the way, I'm saying Iberian Peninsula, I'm skipping Portugal because they are just monolingual, so there isn't really much interaction there. I'll consider Galician though. We have Leonese, no one knows about it, but it does exist. Aragonese, and then Occitan, which kind of geopolitically fits in Spain because there is a valley there where they speak it. So I'm going to include it into the picture, although, yeah, it's more into France. Okay, so here is the picture at the beginning, 1,000 years ago, and we have guest. The guest is Arabic. Arabic arrived into the peninsula around the 8th century, and it stayed on until the 14th, 16th. It's not clear when it really gets extinguished. But it had a massive impact in the shaping of Spanish, Castilian. It didn't have that much impact in the rest of the languages. We still find borrowings from Arabic in Galician and Leonese, but through Castilian. So the contact was really Arabic and Castilian, and Basque actually helped shape Castilian as well. That's why Spanish has only 5 vowels, A-E-I-O-U, whereas all Romance languages seem to have more, but that's because Basque only had 5 and kind of made its impact there. Here we see how the kingdoms formed after the fall of the Roman Empire started expanding southwards, making the arts go down, 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 and confining them to the Caliphate of Granada, so an Arabic kingdom there that was technically taken over in 1498 when the Moors were literally kicked out in 3 days and had 3 days to leave, die, or convert to Catholicism. That's what the Catholic King said. As Castile gained political power, other varieties started retreating. And we can really see how Leonese and Aragonese start disappearing from the map, reaching the point where we are right now, when these varieties seem to be more like a dialect and are really dying out. So, are they really languages? Well, here we have several words: morning, cousin, bor, and bed. And we can clearly see very quickly that Basque, distinguishes itself completely from the rest because it is a non-Indo-European language. It doesn't belong to the same linguistic family. It's an indigenous language from Spain that probably Iberian people spoke before the arrival of Indo-European tribes, and that's why it is so distinct from the rest, which are Romance varieties. They all derive from Latin. We can very quickly see that there are some pairings there. So we have Catalan and Occitan kind of standing out, having a different word for morning, a different word for cousin, a different word for board, and a different word for bed. Aragon is kind of focused and big, but not quite, and that's because it is literally sandwiched between Castilian and these varieties. What these varieties do is use Latin words for words that are borrowed from Arabic in the rest. So we have sanglan, singla, whereas in the rest we use jabali, which is the Arabic word for evolved. We can clearly see the other languages also kind of pairing up nicely and following Castilian for geographical matters, obviously. So what is the status of all these languages nowadays? Well, the Spanish Constitution, nowhere in the Spanish Constitution does it say that Spanish is the official language of Spain, because Spanish doesn't exist, it is a construct. The language, the official language, is Castilian. So, not until I went abroad, actually, I was conscious of me speaking Spanish. I thought I spoke Castilian. I never thought of that. Then we have other Spanish languages that may be official. So they don't really have co-official status, they may be or may not. And finally, the richness has to be preserved. The richness of what? Not languages, linguistic modalities. That is a kind of pejorative term, and in no way technically linguistic. This is politics. This is Castilian, being Spanish. Castilian is what glues Spain together. What is their status based on that? Well, we have institutions backing them up. Unique institutions with political support for them to work and be able to establish a regularized language and to establish an orthography, a dictionary, and so on. So on those institutions with political support, so the Real Academia Española de la Lengua, the Instituto de Estudios Catalans, and the Basque Academy of Language, are the ones that actually have some power and actually have an impact on language. The rest completely lack political support, so they just do academic activity. Therefore, the language is not regularized, therefore there isn't a dictionary, therefore there isn't an orthography, and therefore we can't use it for academic purposes, we can't use it for the media, because it's not a proper means of communication, it's not codified. And therefore the language is relegated to just code. Here we have numbers of this language, in these languages. In Catalonia, 55.5% of the population has Spanish as a mother tongue, and only 30% have Catalan. In the Basque country, it's even higher. And I really suspect that this official number is wrong, because in Galicia, no one speaks Galician, to be honest. So, sorry, I've been there. So this is the situation. Why does Lebanese not have numbers? Because it's not co-official. There isn't a political institution behind it. Why doesn't Aragonese not have numbers? Same. And why isn't Aragonese even called Aragonese officially anymore? Because if you call Aragonese Aragonese, people may identify their language with their identity. However, if you call Aragonese language belonging to the mountain areas, it becomes a construct. It's something folkloric. It loses all its value as something you can identify with. They just play with it. Are these languages used in education? Again, only those with political support are. In the Basque country, they have two systems. System A, where the kids are taught in Basque, and System B, where they are taught in Spanish. How nice is it to have this beautiful social division from kindergarten? Oh, I go to Basque school, my God, it's terrible. You will blow up things when you grow up. In Galician, they do a couple of hours a week, and in Catalan, the system was that everything was taught in Catalan, but it doesn't seem to be the case anymore. If there is one student in the classroom that wants to be taught in Spanish, the language has to be changed for everyone. It doesn't matter if you have 29 people wanting to be taught in Catalan, if you have one that wants to be taught in Spanish bloc. So, what does the future hold? Divide and conquer. Catalan has various dialects. It is spoken in Valencia, it is spoken in the Balearic Islands, and in Aragon, where they have given it this beautiful label, La Pau. That sounds horrible, which is Aragonese language belonging to the East, but it's Catalan from a linguistic perspective. But what happens if you give people that label? They may identify with Catalan culture, and that's a problem because it threatens national unity of a centralist state. But from a linguistic perspective, it's just wrong. Basque promotes society's division, and Aragonese is this thing, this construct. Sorry, I just, every time I say that, it's intellectually offensive. So, what do we have to do? What does this do? It makes language a folkloric thing. You're from that area where this thing was spoken once. We're not going to regularize it. We're not going to do anything to preserve it. Although, what does the Constitution say? Preserve, what was that, linguistic modalities? They are completely neglecting the diversity, and they are really trying to reinforce this. And it's my guess that at some point Spain will actually be Spanish, Castilian will no longer exist, and we will have a homogeneous linguistic country, because without proper political action, there is no chance these languages